Welcome to Divisive Issues, a comic book podcast where we talk about comic books. I'm Ryan Lynch.
I'm Sly Crappo.
I'm Phil Maverickus.
And I'm Daryl Steffen.
Daryl, you're still here?
I know.
Daryl, we told you to leave. Why won't you go?
I like it here.
Where else is he going to go, Phil?
That's true.
So while Daryl's here, maybe we should review a comic.
Sure, let's do something cool. Like, really cool.
I love this premise that Sly always pushes that we're accidentally recording this show.
Oh, I didn't see you guys there.
Hey, have you read this comic called The Boys?
The Boys by Garth Ennis?
Yeah, that one. That's what I mean.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
All right, so elevator pitch for The Boys. First of all, The Boys is a very fucking generic title for this fucking book.
Especially because they're not even all boys.
It's not that bad.
It's pretty bad.
But like, okay, let's start the concept for this. And readers, listeners, tell us, does it sound like the perfect name for something with this concept? Basically, it's about how superheroes, it's a world where superheroes are a bunch of assholes, irresponsible assholes. And a group of humans basically are there to like hassle them and keep them in line. And basically it's shithead edgelord shit again. But like, why is it called The Boys? Like, call them like fucking the Freak Destroyer or something like that. I don't know, something interesting instead of The Boys.
Freak Destroyer?
But like something that signifies the concept at least. You have this interesting concept.
No,
of...
I think that's fair.
I think actually this title's really appropriate because they are humans, non-superpowered people, so they're just regular people like us. So they're the boys, just like a regular, street group of guys, and one female called the female.
I was positive you're going to make a joke saying The Boys is a perfect title because that's a target audience for his book.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good joke too. Thanks for making it.
One caveat I do want to make is this series went on for a really long time. We only read the first 6 issues, so maybe they explain some of the things we're going to complain about. Or praise? Probably not. I don't know. Maybe it gets really great. I don't know.
Yeah, it could go interesting places.
But that's one thing is I do just want to stress it's not a standalone book. Like usually we try to pick standalone stories. This is the beginning of a long-running book. But is it a good start? Let's find out.
Spoilers, no.
Just to explain a little bit about this book, we mentioned Garth Ennis in Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe. And I don't know if I brought this up, but the reason why he wrote Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe wasn't a coincidence that was him. Because he really fucking hates superheroes.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he hates almost every superhero except Superman and Wonder Woman, according to him. Everyone else, he likes to show him humiliated, make jokes of. And that's one reason why I've never been a huge fan of Garth Ennis, even though I think he's talented. The runs I like his Punisher run for the most part. Whenever another superhero shows up in it, I'm like, oh god.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense in the context of this book, that he hates superheroes.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know that, but now that you said that, I'm like, oh, yeah, okay.
And it's interesting because I've read only like the really, really good Garth Ennis. Like he wrote a series called Hitman that I only read 1 issue of, but it's one of the best Superman stories I've ever read. And like it's funny that you mentioned that he loves Superman and hates everybody else because like when everyone says he hates superheroes, I was like, but he wrote such a good Superman story.
Yeah.
But apparently it's not anyone else except Superman and Wonder Woman that he loves.
Just for example of Garth Ennis' tendencies, in Hitman, the series that Ryan just mentioned, he had Green Lantern get raped.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
How do you forget about that?
Well, because I didn't read it. I only read that 1 issue. But I've recommended, I think pretty recently, I recommended Preacher, which is Garth Ennis, and that's another like long form one. And the reason why I wanted to have that caveat in the beginning is because I absolutely love Preacher, but I didn't super love it until like 12 issues in, which is further than I gave The Boys. I didn't feel this. I still liked the first 6 issues a lot more than I like this. But the reason why I bring up Preacher is because Garth Ennis, when he pitched this book, he told the public that he's going to out Preacher and make it take just the really gory, violent parts of Preacher and run with that idea instead of like the good parts.
Also, I should mention, like Ryan said, this is the first story arc, but I think it's fair to judge it by the first volume.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying it's unfair, but I just like, in case anyone really loves this book, I would be interested to hear, like, sell the rest of it to me after you hear what we have to say about the beginning, because like there are plenty of books that I've read that don't get good for a while, but they also usually don't start out like this.
And also, but it's also relevant that the intro is relevant to this book's success because the final publishing company that we're reading under is Dynamite Comics, which is a third party imprint, not the big two. But it was originally published under DC, under its Wildstorm imprint, and basically DC was not comfortable with how anti-superhero was, and eventually dropped it. So like it is relevant that these test issues came out because even DC read these issues like stop making these books, Garth Ennis, get the fuck out of here.
Wait, you mean DC is not comfortable with having a Superman copy like ask for blowjobs to get people in the Avengers?
He doesn't ask.
Not the Avengers, Justice League.
He doesn't
Whatever.
ask in their defense. And I just want to hail the return of Sly's Imprint Corner, which we haven't heard in many weeks.
But just get into target audience for this
It's
book.
the same as all the other fucking edgelords books we read.
8th graders.
If you like watching a bunch of guys like really bloody and fuck each other, it's it. That's what this is.
Yeah.
I think there actually is another target audience because this one, unlike Mark Millar stuff for me, was a lot more interesting as a premise. If you like the idea of what would happen if in a real world where superheroes existed, they would not be as responsible as they are in
As
many
virtuous
comics.
and selfless.
Right.
We actually talked a little bit about that beforehand. That like you mentioned, Phil, that this is a more interesting premise. I do think that this is better structured than the Millar books we've read.
It is.
And I think there's actual characters in it.
It actually has good writing. It's actually like we'll get into this because Daryl disagrees with us, right, Daryl?
I'll get into details later on.
Okay.
Yeah, but even though it's the same target audience, I do think that there is more here, and that's why I mentioned that it does go on, because I would never read a Nemesis Volume 2.
Except for the podcast, you mean, right?
Yeah, of course. But like, if somebody I could see somebody convincing me to stick with the boys a little bit more than this. I'm not gonna go get it on my own, but I could see it going somewhere where something like Nemesis I can't.
I agree.
I agree too. Yeah. I mean, if there was for the target audience, I was saying that if you're interested in the idea of like people keeping superheroes in line, this is for you. If there was something I could think of that was better that does the same thing, I would just say don't read this. But I don't know many things that actually have this idea of like your conventional superhero world with people that are there to beat them up and kill them if they get too crazy.
Yeah.
It basically is a whole premise based around the phrase "Who watches the Watchmen?"
Yeah.
From Watchmen. Like it is a very interesting concept. And one thing I wanted to mention before we get into the plot, the art is done by Darick Robertson, who's an artist that I really like. How do you guys feel about the art in this book?
I do not like it.
Yeah?
It's kind of it's unpleasant to look at, and that might be appropriate for the book. I'll say that.
We actually talk about this a lot with the Millar stuff.
That was a very astute observation, that it's like it's unpleasant, but it fits the book really well because it's like there aren't people that are drawn in it where you're like, this is attractive, or like I want to live here or be in this place.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it. I mean, it's not technically it's competent. It's very competent. The anatomy is good. It's just that it just does not look pretty. It does not make me want to look at it.
Yeah, I'm going to get into his art a little bit more on my recommendation. Spoilers.
Okay.
But I think there's nothing in here that I think is like really fantastic, but I do think he fits the book very, very well.
I agree with that.
I agree with that too.
All right, so getting to the story. The story opens up with Captain America getting his head stamped on. Because, and basically there's no context to this, no reason for this. Nothing, there's a comic, there's nothing to do with this page. But just Captain America getting his face stepped on.
It's not just his face getting stepped on. Like, his eyeballs popped out. He's all bloody. Like, it is super, super gory.
Super gory. And I think the only reason why Garth Ennis put this in is because I know Captain America is his least favorite superhero, so he probably just did this because he said, fuck you, Captain America, you piece of shit.
And one thing, like Sly mentioned, it's published by Dynamite, so it's not technically Captain America. It looks exactly like Captain America, but there's an M instead of an A. So because every single character in this book has a parallel to somebody else, we're probably just going to call them that somebody else. But, keep in mind that they are like, when you go to the fair and win like a Pikachu that looks a little weird, and it's not really a Pikachu.
Peekaboo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the name of basically there's two parts to the first volume, and the first part is called The Name of the Game. And that's the first section of the volume 1.
Already a better title than Millar books, which are like "fuck you" and like "fuck
Yeah.
me in the butt."
All right, so
I wish I was kidding. I really wish I was kidding.
the book opens up in Washington D.C. and
The best opening lines of dialogue.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
I had to stop when I was reading this. I'm like, not again. I can't believe we're doing this again.
So, like, just my defense, I said, like, hey, guys, what book do you want to do? And I said, here's the boys. It's Super Edgelord. Everyone said yes. Then when they read it, they said, Sly, this is Super Edgelord. Fuck you. Why did you pick this for us?
We heard it was edgelord done good, so we're like, oh, let's
Yeah.
read something that's like edgy but cool.
It's not.
It's
not.
just edgy again.
Anyway, tell us the opening line, Sly. What's happening as he sits there in Washington?
Yeah, so this guy is on the park bench in Washington, and a bunch of superheroes fly overhead, and the guy says, I'm gonna fucking have you, you cunt.
But he's got this big grin on.
Yeah.
Yep.
I also want to point out when we're talking about the art, this guy always kind of. A lot of the guys in this really look weird to me. They look like rapists.
Well, yeah, a lot of them are rapists.
True.
The reason why I don't think that's necessarily that means of the artist being a bad artist. I think it's just that people are like not people in real life look weird, and they're trying to make like everything about this book is unpleasant. I think they're just trying to show like realistic, not necessarily pretty looking people.
Okay.
And that's so mean, considering that. I think that's so mean to be like, they're all ugly. Because the next character we meet is literally based on Simon Pegg.
Yeah, and Simon Pegg isn't like the guy you pick like as your studio stud muffin.
Yeah, most definitely not.
Simon Pegg's the greatest.
I love Simon Pegg. I mean, go see Star Trek Beyond. It's good, but I'm not gonna say he's like a superhero actor.
Are we being paid by studio?
Sly is always advertising. I think he gets money on the side from all these different companies to advertise.
Fuck, you guys found me out.
From Simon Pegg.
Yeah, from Simon Pegg himself.
Simon Pegg paid us to say he was beautiful and great in movies.
Okay, so let's move. We're really dragging. it.
So as Ryan mentioned, Simon Pegg is guest starring in his book, just like Eminem guest starred in Wanted.
No, but this Simon Pegg gave like his approval and everything.
Really?
He wrote the intro in the trade saying that Darick Robertson called him and was like, yo, I got the rights to use your face in a book. Is that okay? And he was like, yeah, I like comics, whatever.
But so Simon Pegg is at a carnival with his girlfriend, and basically they're having a beautiful moment together. They're kissing, and
It's pretty immediately established that he's like super awkward and like is like a big like dweeb nerd guy.
Yeah, it's a tinfoil hat man that like believes
Yeah.
in government conspiracies and the Illuminati.
But he like keeps like doing that thing that like where he says something, he's like, no, I didn't mean it like that, and then she's like, don't worry about it, it's fine, we're having a great time.
yeah.
And then she's dead.
Yeah, she's dead. So basically, they're kissing, and then basically, I'm just gonna call him the Flash. His name is A Train, but he's basically Wally West, based on Wally West. But yeah, so A Train, Wally West, basically smashes a villain right through Simon Pegg's girlfriend and kills her.
And brutally too. Like he's holding onto her arms as they're kissing, and when the villain smashes through her, he's just holding her arms.
Yeah.
He's looking down like mortified, and it's like a silent panel.
And this scene, I actually thought, I was like, maybe this isn't super edgy, because like this is really nice and cute, and like this is real human moment, and then she's just arms, and I'm like, never mind, fuck.
Then it cuts to the guy from the first page. The guy who said, I'm gonna get you cunts. He's meeting a woman in Washington, the Pentagon, and he comes in. The next panel cuts to them fucking, and she's like, "You disgust me, you dirty, filthy, repulsive son of a bitch. You make me want to puke." And the guy says, "Wait till you see where I wipe my dick, love."
What does that even mean?
On her face, I guess. I don't know.
Also, did we mention this guy's name is Butcher?
Yeah, I didn't mention that yet.
It is.
I don't really give a shit about the character's name. I'm just gonna call him Simon Pegg, and this guy is fucking the Punisher, I guess.
And they show right before she, again, a cuckolding thing, even though it's a different guy. Right before she fucks this butcher guy, there's a picture of her husband and her kids right next to her.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, so there's cuckolding, there's the sex jokes, there's murder and gore. So if you're a Mark Millar fan, this is right up your alley. Go read this book.
Yeah, target audience, Mark Millar fans.
Yeah, it definitely starts off on like almost the worst foot possible it could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we come back to Simon Pegg, and basically it shows girlfriend's smash corpse. She gets smashed.
This was the grossest scene in the whole book.
Yeah, her corpse is smashed against the wall.
Yeah.
I would not say that.
But it's one of them.
It's up there, but
And Simon Pegg basically refuses to let go of her bloody stumps of arms, even as the paramedics are asking him to let go.
and he's like totally quiet and like totally stunned by it.
And A-Train is basically like, whatever, like, I got the guy. And
He actually, as he broke through his girlfriend before, he said, "Get out of my fucking way."
Yeah.
As he killed her.
And Simon Pegg is crying, and A-Train's like, oh, you have people deal with this, right? Cool, and he runs off.
He's literally grabbing his dick when he says that.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and he says,
that's
"Can't
it.
stop the A-Train."
And he's like, "Where the fuck am I? Am I in America?" and he's like, because they're in Scotland,
Yeah.
and the cops there are like, "Go fuck off there, you fucking cunt!" Just because everyone in this book just calls everyone
And
cunts.
I need to bring up that when Sly said "can't stop the A train," that is actually A Train's catchphrase. That he
Yeah.
says
Yeah.
"can't stop the A train" and then runs away.
Yeah. So then it comes back to the woman in Raynor.
She's in the CIA.
Yeah.
She's the head of the CIA actually, and he's there because he's like, "Hey, I want to bring back a team. I know all about these superheroes, and you know they're assholes. And it's he says superpower is the most dangerous power on Earth, and you guys as the government have to know that they could fuck you up. So you need us to fuck them up, so they don't fuck you up."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's basically at this point just explaining the premise to the reader.
Yeah. So we come back to Simon Pegg, and basically he's been high.
He's wearing a T-shirt that says "God's third leg." What the fuck does that
know.
even mean?
He's God's penis.
But like basically he's been has like a bong and like stuff lying around, and basically he's been drinking and smoking weed as like people are like asking him like basically they're paying him off to not talk about the incident with his girlfriend.
He signs an NDA.
It's a bunch of suits, and like I actually like this scene for the fact that like the speech bubbles aren't attached to anyone in particular. It's just scenes of him with bloodshot eyes, the suits all around them, and then the speech bubbles are just all over the panels, just saying stuff like, he is an American, compensation's tricky, you weren't actually married, bruising, wouldn't accept medical, and then they're just holding him this paper to sign.
And then I actually really like this page a lot too, because after he signs it, there's just black for the bottom panel, and it's the only words that they're not connected to him, but they're coming from him, obviously, because it says, "I don't want fucking compensation, I want her back, that's all." And like the fact that you don't even see him there, it's just like his whole world's just gone black. Like that's why this is better than a Mark Millar book, because that's an actual like effective thing you did narratively.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good way to portray grief.
Yeah. And, like, he's done more character work in 2 pages than Nemesis did in the whole fucking book. And now let's cut to a guy jerking off.
Yeah, custom guy jerking off.
Jerking off to crippled people.
Crippled people throwing javelins?
Crippled athletes, not even like naked crippled people, like just a crippled athlete from the Olympics or something like that. And basically he finds out Mr. Butcher is there to see him, and he jumps out the window, and Mr. Butcher's there waiting for him. And he kicks him in the groin.
Yeah.
Mr. Butcher does. And
Everyone calls him a monkey.
His name is Monkey.
Yeah.
yeah.
Just like they all have weird names, like Butcher, the Frenchman.
Wait, his first name is actually Monkey? Monkey?
No, I think that's probably his code name.
Oh, that's... okay.
Yeah. His name is Mr. Kessler, but I don't think that matters.
Yeah, so then what happens next?
He beats him up and he's like, "Oh, Monkey." Apparently that's his contact to all the superheroes, because when he was talking to the CIA director, he tells her, "I know all of them and I have profiles on all of them and you don't." And apparently Monkey is his contact who knows, he has like all the updated superhero killings and news. Somehow he has this
and
all.
he's getting his team together, and for some reason, which he doesn't tell us in this book, he needs 5 people.
Yeah.
And he grabs the file for Simon Pegg.
And so then we cut to Simon Pegg, and basically he's at a park, and he's crying, saying, "It's not fair, it can't be. It was all going right for me for once. World, just stop fucking churning, will ya?" And then cuts and shows that Butcher standing next to him on the bench. End of issue 1.
And he has a stupid shit-eating grin on.
He always does.
And also he has a dog that I didn't mention yet.
He's had a dog the whole time, but
Yeah.
His name is Terror.
the dog, it's like a big like bulldog.
He's not relevant for anything except Shed Edgelord reasons, but it's going to come up soon, so might as well bring it up now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the end of issue 1.
Yeah. So,
So when I finished issue 1, I was like, this is shitty, but there's some stuff like I like Simon Pegg's character. Let's see if this goes somewhere. And like I immediately felt like maybe I'm just so desensitized from like Nemesis and the Unfunnies. If I read this before the show, I probably would have been like, this is garbage. But I was like, okay, this isn't the worst thing.
It's not. And like I said before, I think the premise is really interesting because
agree.
the idea of like in real life, people who are always throwing people through buildings and shit and like shooting lasers out of their eyes and, you know, running at the speed of sound, like they're going to kill people. And if you're so powerful that you feel like you're above the law, some of those people are not going to care about what they're doing. Especially the fact that in all comics, it's not like they're trained. They get powers and they're like, I'm going to go shoot lasers now. See ya.
And that becomes a major theme later, where he even
Yeah.
brings it up. But we'll get to that when he brings it up.
So we come back to for issue 2. We are at the park, and the guy's Simon Pegg's crying, and the butcher is asks like, "Oh, you lose somebody? Is that it?" But Peg just keeps crying, and there's a dog yipping in the background, yip yip yip, and
Taking a big shit.
oh yeah, I missed that part. Oh yeah, so there's a dog taking a big shit, and you're yelling yip 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 excitedly as he's shitting, and Simon Pegg's like, "What is that fucking noise?" And Butcher says, "Oh, it's one of those little dogs, Shih Tzu, whatever you call them, horrible little things." And Simon Pegg says, "I hate those wee bastards." So Butcher turns to his dog and says, "Terror, mate, fuck it."
Because he's like, she's not even gonna clean up after that dog. Go fuck it.
Yeah,
And like this panel is so terrible of the dog's face, just this big like sociopathic grin it has on.
Yeah.
Shit-eating grin.
It's more than shit eating, it's scary.
maybe he ate the shit before he fucked it.
He looks like he's gonna rape someone, and he is.
He is, yeah.
So then we cut to a French guy. His name is the Frenchman, because of course he is. Whenever you fucking have a French guy, usually called a Frenchman, whatever the fuck it is.
People are equally as mad at him as Sly is.
For why?
Yeah.
Why?
Because he's French.
That's
Yeah.
it?
Haven't
Yeah.
you met Americans?
He's like monologuing to a cup of espresso, and everyone's just like, fuck you, you faggot. Like, why? What?
Wait, and they also make a Simpsons reference. Goddamn surrender monkey, cheese eater.
Is that a Simpsons reference?
Yeah, Willie, cheese eating surrender monkeys.
Oh.
But then the Frenchman, very original name, just like the original name Boys. Like I've never seen any fucking dirty dozen fucking thing with those names ever. But yeah, so the Frenchman freaks out and starts beating the shit out of guys in
He
the
like
club.
punches one guy and his whole jaw explodes. Like, this
Yeah.
guy is strong.
Yeah,
Also, the design of his outfit is just a bald-ish guy with like pilot's goggles on his head.
Yeah.
And then before he beats the shit out of them, he puts the goggles on his face and starts screaming, and then just starts headbutting them and kicking the shit out of them.
So I just noticed that this is really weird. So Butcher, after he told his dog to fuck the other dog, he left Simon Pegg to go to the Frenchman and say, "Hey, join me." Then he goes back in time to see.
Oh, no, I took that as, like, him getting the rest of the team together was in flashback.
But it was only one person he got.
No, but he does
Yeah.
this regularly where he keeps cutting to other people and then back to him and Simon
Yeah,
Pegg.
you're right. It could.
That's
be.
true.
But
that's true.
they don't give any narration showing that it's flashback. I just took it that way. It was confusing at first.
Also, they don't give any like locale besides visual cues for like
Yeah.
location. They don't give any like saying like Washington D.C. Here's the Frenchman. I didn't know this was supposed to be New York. I thought they were still in Scotland or Wales, wherever the fuck Simon Pegg is from.
They are when he's with Simon Pegg.
I know, but like he never gives any like.
Yeah, it jumps all over the world and they never tell us anything.
Yeah. So then we come back to the dog fucking the other dog.
And it's like disgusting too, because this giant bulldog is drooling all over, and he's like twice the size of the other dog that he's fucking, and there's a pigeon stuck under him as he fucks the other
I
dog.
didn't even notice that.
Yeah, that was a good detail.
Like this scene is just so terrible.
And so Simon Pegg is like laughing, like, "This is great, hilarious," and I'm like, "Okay, I don't like him anymore." Either, so thanks, Garth Ennis.
Or once you introduce like dog sodomy, it's just like, oh no. And the fact that the two of them are like, this is awesome. This is fun. Like, this is such an edgelord thing to enjoy.
But yeah, you're right. I can't defend this. I try and I can't.
So Butcher takes him for a walk, and they talk about how superheroes are dicks.
Well, this is when he explains, I'm going to shoot straight with you. I know what happened to your girlfriend. I'm going to reiterate the premise of the book now. Do you want in on this?
So we cut to the girl member of the boys.
The female
Of the species without any indication of location yet again. And it's basically she's knocking on a door to...
she's like she looks like a child almost.
Yeah.
Like, I can't tell if she's just short but she looks young.
She looks like she's Asian too, so she looks like a crazy girl from the Ring, the Ring or something like that.
She's Asian, so of course she looks crazy.
No, but say she looks like a crazy a girl from the Ring or like.
Sly's always the racist one on this show. He calls me a fucking souvlaki slurper, and then anyway,
was that Sly or the Joker?
It was the Joker, but Sly made me read that book, therefore I'll blame him.
Also, whenever a girl shows up in any of these books for more than one frame, I always start a countdown in my head until some sexual advancement from a gross man.
Yeah.
It's immediate, always.
Oh, it's immediate.
The guys who she's knocking on the door, they're like, she's pretty hot. I'm gonna give her my dick.
No, they don't even say she's hot. There's two guys, and one guy's like, "Should we help her? Like, should we let her in?" The guy goes, "I don't care what you do. I'll show her my dick." Like, he doesn't even look at her.
Yeah, and they suggest that these are they're doing something shady.
Yeah.
And the girl knocks on the door and is like, "Oh, can we make her leave?" And then like, "Oh, I'll show her my fucking dick. The little cunt can learn to make herself useful." And when he opens the door for her, she basically murders both of them, and she rips off their faces and splashes against the window.
Like another really gross, but kind of the art is good, but it's a really gross image of this face splattered against the window with blood everywhere, just sliding down.
Yeah.
And again, if this was Millar, I think we would get 3 pages of her dismembering them.
Yeah.
So we cut back to them, Simon Pegg and Butcher talking, and he's basically saying, "I want you to join the boys. We're gonna fucking show these superhero cunts what's what." And then we cut to another guy who's a black guy who's drinking a coffee cup that says "badass" on it.
This guy's huge, by the way. Like, he's sitting at his dining room table, but he's like a giant sitting at a kid's table.
Yeah.
He's like super buff.
And basically this guy's like, "Oh, Butcher, man, I don't know."
This is the only character I like.
Yeah.
Me too.
So this guy is like, he doesn't want to join the boys, which makes him automatically more likable than anyone else on this fucking
Well, Simon
team.
Pegg doesn't commit to join either.
Yeah, but he's like excited by dog sex, so...
Yeah, that's true. He's only human. Come on, right, guys?
So he's like, "Oh, a bad shit happened before, and I don't want to. I want to put all that behind me. And if I want to make a difference, I want to do it on a smaller scale." And basically, while they're talking,
This scene.
his daughter comes down, and she's wearing
A tight tank top,
Skimpy clothing.
bare
Yeah.
midriff.
She's wearing a shirt that has her huge chest in it, and it says "my lumps" across it.
Yeah. And he says, "Janine, honey, what do we say about you dressing that way?" And she says, "Oh, did we say something? 'Cause I remember having a conversation. All I remember is you telling me what to do." Mm-hmm.
At first, I was like, no, she has a fair point. But then, the scene is immediately, it's obvious that she's wrong.
Yeah, she basically you could say she has a right to have just how she wants, she's fucking 16, but she leaves the house, and basically there's a bunch of gangbangers with guns waiting for her, and basically to show no, these black thugs are wrong, and she's wrong for.
I think it's Sly. I don't know if you mentioned it on the show, but you've always said that whenever female comic book characters are bad, they're always super slutty. They're always so tied together.
Yeah.
And because it could have been a lot why bring this up if not just to shame her for being in a bad crowd and dressing poorly?
Yeah.
Well, I think another function of this scene is that you have the dad who's a nice guy and he's like, "Oh man, I don't know how to deal with this." But then you have Butcher, who I think is Garth Ennis I feel like he's channeling himself in here. He's
a self-insert.
Yeah, he's a Mary Sue.
That's why I called him Punisher before, because he reminded me of the Punisher is that he's a self-insert for Garth Ennis.
He's a big bulky guy with a black trench coat on and black hair.
Yeah.
And where the dad is too much, in probably Garth Ennis' eyes, he's too much of a pussy to deal with his daughter. Butcher goes outside to these gangbangers and says, "I need to have a word with Janine."
He punches one of their guns and it crumples up.
Yeah. This is it just seems like such a unrealistic, stupid, like middle-aged white man's fantasy to go up to a bunch of thugs and smash your gun and say, "Get the fuck out of here!"
And tell this slutty daughter and be like, "You need to respect your dad. He does everything for you. Your mother's a cow who doesn't deserve anything.
Yeah.
And you bring her up. You know what? You should go treat your dad with some bloody respect." And it's such an obvious like. No, this guy, since he's a man's man, can go deal with his slutty daughter, even though the dad can't because he's too much of a pussy.
Yeah, it's like an overly aggressive, masculine way of handling things. It's like
I really hated this scene so much.
Yeah. I wonder if Garth, if one of his friends has like a daughter like this. And he's like, you know what? I'll fucking show that cunt. I'll put her in a story.
yeah, I'll draw a comic of me punching a gun.
So then it cuts to now. It's like nighttime and. Butcher and him.
Butcher and Simon Pegg.
Yeah, they meet up and like Ryan said, Simon Pegg's hesitant about it, saying, "Oh, I'm a bit out of my element here. I just want to move on from this." And basically, Butcher says, "This happened before. It's gonna happen again. You want to do something to stop it? You want to you want to just move on?" And so he leaves, and Simon Pegg has to contemplate the decision. End of issue 2.
Well, he's like, you make up your mind, do whatever you want, but here's like a couple $1,000 just to make everything easier. So he's very much like a guardian angel figure to Simon Pegg now.
Yeah. So then that ends the first story, Name of the Game.
Issue 3 is when I was like, oh, okay, this book's terrible.
Now we're getting to the quote-unquote, the kind of villains of the story, the 7, which are basically Justice League.
And I actually like this cover a lot, where it's an old comic book like issue with the 7 drawn on it in like, I don't know what era this would be from, but
like Silver Age.
Yeah, it's very obvious, like it's an evocative of that, like the old timey superheroes, and there's a knife through the comic issue.
And
I like it a lot.
and like so, then it opens with the equivalent of the Justice League satellite, which is like this weird helicarrier thing, and a new superhero called Starlight shows up, and
Superman meets her.
Yeah, what's Superman's name?
The Homelander.
Homelander.
And immediately the countdown begins, since it's
Yes.
a pretty
This
female.
one actually lasts a while.
No, it doesn't. That's 2 pages.
Yeah, that's pages.
It doesn't. The bad thing doesn't happen until page 4, and that's a lot for this kind of book.
Just Ryan, your expectations. Wow, 4 pages.
You like it's for me. I was like, I knew from this conversation that it was happening. Like,
yeah, I wanted to see what way Superman would be a terrible person, and I was crossing my fingers that the rest of the Justice League would be terrible and not him. But no.
So basically, he's giving her a tour of the satellite.
She's really impressed because she's from a small team of superheroes.
She's from like the Teen Titans equivalent,
right?
A Christian version too.
So yeah, the superheroes in this world, aside from one team that we're going to talk about later, are very much grounded in like the real America. Very obvious air quotes there of like white Christian conservative, like status quo kind of machismo, and they make that pretty clear throughout the whole book.
And she's so impressed to be meeting with Superman. She's like, "I can't believe you're meeting me yourself. Oh my god!" And he's like, "Of course."
He even tells her his real name, and she does the same.
And basically, like she says, like, "I've been waiting this my whole life. This is like, oh, this is like the hitting the big leagues." And like, "Oh, you passed all your tests. There's just one final test for you to pass, and I know you're going to excel at that too." And she says, Cut to the splash page, which is Superman with his pants down, showing his butt, his hairy butt.
To the audience, but his dick to her.
Yeah, and he yells out, "Suck it!"
Not only do we see his hairy butt, but it has like a thong tan line.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it does.
At this page, that's when I was like, I had to stop for a minute and be like, I don't know why this exists. Like, why this has to exist. I was expecting something bad to happen, like Daryl was saying. Like, the countdown always does begin naturally in my head.
Yeah.
But I just like hoped it wouldn't.
But in the name of this part of the story is called Cherry. I don't know why, but it's called Cherry.
He
popped a cherry, I guess.
Yeah.
Simon Pegg pops his cherry.
Yeah.
I also you were saying before about how promiscuity is tied with like villainy in comics a lot for females. And I think it's interesting with this character Starlight how she's like the good type of superhero, and now she's not a slut, and he's like, "Hey, be a bad guy like me, suck my dick."
Yeah. So we cut to someplace in America.
He's in the Bronx.
The Bronx. So basically, Simon Pegg got a place in the Bronx, and since it's the Bronx, it's like a shithole.
So he took Butcher's advice and moved to America.
Yeah. And so they're in America now, and that's where their locale is going to be. Cause
Important line here that will come up later. Well, he's telling them, don't live in South Bronx. It's a pigsty. And he's like, I don't mind it. It's kind of interesting. And Butcher says, well, first flood of blood-flecked semen under the door. Don't come crying to me.
What does that mean?
Well, keep that in mind.
Is that
Keep
a
in
thing
mind.
that happens?
That's what I wonder, but apparently, according to this comic, it is.
Well, I think Garth Ennis secretly hates America as well as superheroes.
But just like, I don't get, what is that? What made that?
I think he thinks like all Americans, you just jerk off blood into your stool samples, right? That's whatever.
Semen isn't a stool sample.
I was gonna say, what?
Slight, every time when you go to the doctor and they ask you for a stool sample, what do you give them?
just jerks off into it. Here you go.
I figure you give both of them and they can value both at the same time.
I like this. There's a cool splash page kind of when they're driving in the taxi and they cut to Manhattan and you see what is maybe the Throg's Neck Bridge or the Verrazano Bridge just completely destroyed.
Yeah.
So it kind of gives you an idea. Like I guess superheroes and supervillains have a bigger impact than we see on a day to day.
And the counter, not only is the bridge destroyed, but this was written in 2013, and the Twin Towers are still there.
Yeah.
Which is just it's very subtle and interesting that just like look how different the world is. Not only are there more tragedies, but there's also less human tragedies. Like it kind of frames it in a way that the current tragedies they deal with are all superhero related.
That's interesting detail.
Al Qaeda got stopped by Captain America.
I mean, probably.
Who got his head stepped on?
So, basically, we come back to Starlight, and she's like, "Oh, this can't be happening. You have to leave." And she tries to walk out, and she walks into Batman and the Flash, the A-Train, as we met before. And she's like, "Oh, I don't know what's happened. Someone's controlling the Homelander."
I love that she goes to this comic book thing, like, he must be mind controlled or possessed by aliens.
Or an android or something. And then immediately, the next panel, Flash and Batman, their dicks are out. Their pants are off, and they're like, oh, we're all going to get blowjobs.
So you see 3 pairs of just big white butts.
And Superman goes, yes, and we'd like to get our dicks sucked. And A-Train goes, can't stop the A-Train.
That's true. That actually happens, listeners. He says that. That's the only thing he says is can't stop the A-Train.
And she goes to leave and storm off, and he's just like, you can leave, you don't have to suck our dicks, but just have fun with the whatever your team's name is. You know, go have fun with those nobodies.
Yeah, so how badly you want to join the 7? I guess you don't want that badly. Fuck you. And
and also, we forgot to mention earlier, because I know this is Sly's favorite thing, she does mention that she's dating someone in the team.
Oh, yeah, in her team.
So that guy's got to get cuckolded, right, Sly?
Yeah. Oh my god, this is Mark Millar.
It's just an edgelord thing to do.
I wanted to bring up specifically that it's not cuckolding; it's just cheating because it's not like those men know about it that we know of.
That's true.
Unlike in Millar's books, where the guy always knows and has to accept it.
Yeah.
That's true. That is actually a big difference.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just your standard.
So then we have the team. We have the boys' team meetup for the first time, where we have the whole team there. Simon Pegg comes to meet them. So again, the team is Butcher, it's the Frenchman, it's the big black guy named Mother's Milk, which I guess is again supposed to. He's kind of like the nurturing one, so they're trying to evoke that, I guess.
Okay.
And the female, and now Simon Pegg's there to meet them.
Yeah, and basically they're all fucking creeps, and
They're really creepy, and he even tries to shake the female's hand, and all of them jump on Simon Pegg, and they're like, "Don't do that."
She's an insane serial killer.
And she just looks at him with these eyes that aren't really crazy. It's just like staring.
She's like blank.
One thing that stood out to me though about the scene that I actually really liked is they're like they want to like the Butcher is like, let's plan how to be like this, you know, big mission and all this stuff, and then they're all like, can't we just like hang out and get to know each other a little bit better first? Like, we've been retired for a while. They order pizzas, and it feels much more like a team than like we talked about like villains cheating and stuff. They don't just show a giant montage of like all the gadgets they have and all this stuff. They do try to actually make them feel like people. They might not be people that I like.
I hate most of them though.
It's okay to hate most of them, but they do feel like more like human in the sense that they get there and the Mother's Milk guy, who's more nurturing and like he's like the fatherly figure, he's like, wait, you guys didn't fix the plumbing? I mean, we have to fix this place up before we can start working. Like, you know, they act not just like these superhuman like beings that just do everything they need to do.
Yeah, like just have a Nemesis lab immediately in New York City.
Yeah.
And this is why I think this book is much better than the Mark Millar books we've read, because like it's still bad, but it's bad in a way that I understand instead of just total shit.
It feels like a story. If Mark Millar stories feel more like a proof of concept, for a movie. This feels like an actual like you don't need to edit much to make this into a movie. It'll still be like fucking atrocious to watch, but it's a story. Like it has characters developed. We cut back to Starlight. She's in the bathroom vomiting because she just sucked everyone's dick.
Yeah. And it's a mossy green vomit.
It's really gross too, and like she's wearing makeup, and so her mascara is running down her face. It's just like that's why when you said that's the most disgusting scene, I was thinking of this one actually.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and Wonder Woman's in the bathroom too, and her name is Queen Maiev,
Empress of the Other World.
Yeah, and she's like, "Oh, I never imagined I'll meet you. You're so pretty. I wore my hair just like you. I have a costume just like yours. You're my idol." And Wonder Woman basically just says, "Fuck off."
She doesn't basically. She literally says "fuck off."
Yeah, she says "fuck off" literally. Yes.
And then Starlight just walks back into the bathroom stall to continue puking. God, it's just terrible.
And so we cut back to the boys, and they have their first targets, which are the Teen Titans, basically.
Well, this is like edgy Teen Titans. There's the Teen Titans that Starlight's from. That's like super conservative.
X-Men Evolution.
Yeah, these are like the X-Men, I guess.
Wow, they really are Teen Titans. How did I not realize this?
I mean, Big Game is like such like Nightwing face.
Yeah, it's
right?
basically Nightwing. It's same match as Nightwing. And same hair as Nightwing.
I think I was thrown off by Judge Dredd in the middle.
Or Blarney Cock, whatever the fuck that is. They're a goth teen superhero team. And they said, like, we're going to start with this team because nobody really likes them that much. Like, the super conservative 7 kind of looks down at them as, like, freaks and, like, outsiders. And it's just an interesting kind of take on the, like... This whole book is so like edgy and outsider, but it's in a world that pretends to be super normal and status quo. That like I found that interesting that even though they're all a bunch of assholes, they're putting up this face of being super like conservative and regular and like heartland. That like having an outcast team in this world, I actually found kind of interesting.
So just to go through the team, we have Nightwing, Big Game. We have Popclaw, which is basically
X-23.
X-23, which is the Wolverine clone. She has claws just like him, and she's a female just like X-23.
Shout Out is like he shoots electricity, so he's like Static Shock.
Yeah, Static Shock. Whack Job is kind of like Lobo, or like like basically like I don't know what to compare it to, but Jetstreak is basically Impulse from Young Justice.
Do these characters matter at all?
No, but I just like pointing out who the characters are basically.
You're wasting so much time, Sly. We're never going to get through a single issue if you don't keep nitpicking every detail.
Alright, fuck you. Okay, so...
Well, Gunpowder is Judge Dredd, like Daryl said.
Who's Blarney Cock?
I don't know.
And Dognut, which is a reference to fucking Doc's cock, which is gross, but Dognut is Beast.
Yeah.
Two cock characters immediately.
So both of us, me and Sly, were like, this is an interesting premise, and that's what ends issue 3. Issue 4 immediately makes me eat those words.
Are you sure this isn't like the perfect encapsulation of this comic?
I guess. So Daryl, tell me, issue 4 issue 4 opens with a view inside that teen team's hideout. What's going on?
So it's all of them naked, running around and laughing and telling each other to move, and you're like, oh, why are they doing this? And then you see inside of the rooms, because they're running through the hallways, in the rooms they're each having sex with different women, and then every so often...
And they're running through like a fucking episode of Scooby-Doo, like from door to door in a hallway.
And they're still wearing their masks and boots. They have nothing else on, but they're like, you can tell who they are, their outfits based on like their mask.
Yeah.
And I was actually surprised that the dog guy is just he has a beast face and that's it. I thought it was gonna be way more gross.
I was surprised too.
Yeah.
I think he was like not any more bestiality or no human on animal sex.
Yeah, maybe they saw it last issue and they're like, you need to stop this.
Yeah. And just to make sure that it's not totally chauvinistic that all these like sad looking women prostitutes are getting fucked by this team, there's also that the goth girl that is just like, yes, now you two fuck each other in the ass.
Yeah.
She doesn't engage though, she just watches.
And also Judge Dredd is getting whipped by a cat of nine tails and another girl's lubing up his gun to put it in his ass.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. And
my
Simon Pegg is watching it from binoculars across the street, just like, oh god, what is going on?
They all yell change to switch to go to the next room.
Yeah, they switch prostitutes.
Like in the episode of Futurama when they yell change places.
And as if this isn't bad enough. Well, I guess we'll get to that in a little
Alright,
bit.
so we cut back to Starlight, and now she meets the rest of the team in like a team meeting, and like we said, they're all Justice League analogs. And at the team meeting, Wally West, A-Train, starts doing like a cocksucking motion when Starlight introduces herself, and basically Homelander takes him aside later on and beats the shit out of him, basically saying, you can't fucking do it in public.
Yeah, he's like, that's what we do in private. Like, when we're in front of the people that fund us, it's total serious business.
Yeah.
And he really beats him and threatens to kill him. Like his eyes go to heat vision for a second, and he's like, "Please don't kill me."
And they're fighting. The whole meeting is about their licensing rights on who gets what cut from action figure sales.
Well, I like that the Aquaman guy brings that up. He's like, how come your guys' toys are selling more than mine?
Yeah, and the ones that everyone's complaining about are the Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman figures, which is like pretty much DC summed up. Like,
yeah, I actually like that a lot. That the rest of the team's like, you guys get more money than us, and they're like, because nobody wants to fucking buy your toys unless they're in sets with ours. Fuck you.
Yeah,
and it's great because it's like instead of talking about like saving the world, these superheroes are literally just like talking about bullshit action figures. Like,
yeah. So, and we come back to the Teenage Knicks, which is what the Teen Titans are called.
This is what I was going to say was a lot darker. Is like not only are they doing this depravity, like just running around through the hallways banging all these girls, but then it gets even darker where you find out this is the only whorehouse in the city that'll take them. And why? Because apparently fucking superheroes breaks you. So you see a girl on the toilet with blood all over her fingers from her vagina because when you fuck Superman and the Flash,
it's gonna hurt.
And everybody else is doing this weird blue cocaine
to try and keep them up. It's like he says, hard to keep up with a bloke who can outrun a leopard.
Yeah.
So they're all just doing drugs to be able to have their bodies take it.
Yeah, and Simon Pegg is photographing all this stuff.
Yes, and then we cut back to the CIA director,
God damn it!
And they're having sex. She's having sex with Butcher again, and she's like, "Ow, you piece of shit! How fucking dare you!"
I really like that they just zoom in on the dog enjoying this.
Yeah,
and also like we have to see him throw away his condom.
Yeah.
For some reason, that grosses me out more than anything in this book.
I don't know why, because there's a lot more gross stuff. Like the dog watching is just.
No, but like, there's just something so like visceral about that just really grosses me out.
So we cut to like the boys are spying on the teenage.
Well, why was he there meeting the CIA?
I don't remember.
He's getting some weird blue serum.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
Okay.
he's like, you're the only person I can get it from.
Yeah. So we cut to the teenage Knicks, and the boys are spying them. It's like a montage.
Aren't they the Teenage Kicks?
Yeah, the
Teenage Kicks. What the fuck? I don't give a shit. But the Teen Titans. So the Teen Titans.
This is the best montage in the series that we've read.
It's pretty ridiculous.
We have to go through all these things they're doing.
Go ahead.
I can't not.
Go ahead.
They're at the movie theater at a premiere, and one movie star is jerking off two of the superheroes.
Yeah. Oh, I missed that.
Then next scene, one of them is putting on a magic show for the kids.
For kids in a hospital, like with cancer.
Yeah, these are dying. This is St. Jude's, right?
Yeah.
They said that.
Yeah.
So this is a children's cancer hospital, and Blarney Cock is stealing their medicine. The next scene, you have the leader of the team and I forget the other guy's name, Static Shock.
Shout out.
Shout out, making out.
Yeah.
Then in the next scene, you have the Beast character giving a blowjob to the leader of the team, Nightwing, while he's on the toilet smoking crack.
Yeah.
That is literally happening in one panel.
And then we also have the X-23 character, whatever her name is, cutting herself with her like Wolverine claws, which doesn't seem as bad as all the other stuff.
It's not.
Yeah, it's definitely not as crazy.
The crack pipe sent it over the edge for me. I'm like, it's just like
I didn't notice the crack pipe.
It's seriously so crazy how he's like, I need to cram as many depravities as I can into one page, and this,
So we cut to they're in the truck spying them in classic like spy fashion, with TV screens and everything on.
Like 100 in a van.
Yeah, it's like if you watch a movie, you see this fucking scene. But and like Butcher gets coffee for Simon Pegg, and like they're having a natural chat, and basically out of nowhere he injects some of the blue stuff he got from the CIA director, and Simon Pegg's like, "What the fuck? What the fuck did you do that for?" And he explains like this is the thing to give people superpowers, and we need these to fight them. And but Simon Pegg is like, I don't want to fucking become a superhero. He's like, shite.
And he says it like rewrites your DNA and stuff. He's
Yeah.
like, you could have asked me.
The important thing to mention is in this universe, it's like that's how people get superpowers is from this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not like everyone takes it intentionally. He says that like it alters people's DNA, so when you have kids, that you have a chance of having it. It gets into the food supply, so people who eat it can get it, and then their kids.
So he says like all those superhero origins about like aliens and all this stuff is just a fluke. This happens sometimes.
Yeah. And basically, so he's like, shite, fuck off. I never said I was going to join your gang of head the balls. I never fucking said.
He
He walks
keeps saying
off.
head balls. I don't know what that is.
Head in the ball. It must be a Scottish thing. Any Scots listening, please write in and tell us what head in the balls or head in the balls mean.
Simon Pegg, after you give Sly his check.
So I can just ask him himself.
So he says, I'm going home to fucking Glasgow, and he leaves.
I did like that he wasn't cool with being injected.
Yeah.
Because I feel like
There's character here. There's character nuance here.
we keep comparing it to this, but in a Millar book, he'd be like, okay, I'm a superhero now. Whereas like him, he's like, I never wanted this. What are you doing?
This is what I mean about Ennis is like I don't like this super edgelord thing, but this is a story. Like Sly said, this is edgelord done right.
It's edgelord done better.
Yeah.
But like it's edgelord, like you can't escape the fact that it's edgelord. Like it has shrink cocks and all this fucking shit. But like it actually has character nuance and like development and like it's actually a story. Like I said, like you can say it's not what you want to read, but you can't argue the writer is a fucking hack. You can say he has gross tendencies, but he's not a hack. Like you can argue Mark Millar is by reading Unfunnies or Nemesis.
So then, speaking of not a hack, what happens when he's in the Bronx?
Yeah, I was just about to say. There's some good character development here where Simon Pegg's going to bed looking at his passport for the UK. So he's like, I'm going to go home. And then he hears out his door, and it cuts to blood-flecked semen pouring out under his door.
And it's so much.
And he just goes, no! and then just like it's lying in bed in the next panel, and that's how it ends.
The end of issue 4. Issue 5 opens up with
probably my favorite scene in the whole book.
Yeah, my favorite scene too. Basically, Simon Pegg meets Starlight in her civilian identity. And,
neither of them have any idea who they are. They're just on the same park bench.
There's actually like in each of these issues, there's one part I like per book, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And this is the one I like of this one.
Yeah, so basically they have a nice conversation, and basically they both saying like, I was offered to join this team, but I have to do some crazy shit to be part of it. And they both kind of convince each other to stay with their team. So Simon Pegg gets convinced to stick with the boys, and Starlight gets convinced to stick with the 7.
And they both come to the conclusion that like we already did the shitty part, so why not? What does he say?
You did the penance, so you might as well give the sin a try.
I love that. I think that's such a cool line. And like basically like I already got injected and you already sucked all those dicks, so we might as well like do the
He doesn't
good
know
part.
she sucked all the dicks.
I know, but like what he's saying is like you did the shitty part, both of us did. We might as well reap the benefits of it.
And we come back to the boys, and it turns out they revealed all those photos and stuff, and like they
team, not to the media.
Oh, this goes on so long.
They send these to the Teenage Kicks, and all the Teenage Kicks start screaming at each other because the leader, Nightwing, was getting a blowjob from 2 different guys that didn't know. Yeah. So they're like, you cheating on me, you cock-sucking faggot, or whatever.
Yeah.
And basically what the letter says with the pictures is either you guys put up one person as a sacrifice and like have them go public with their sin, or we're gonna ruin the whole team. So you guys have like 24 hours to decide.
And these pages are just like it's the photos of the Teenage Kicks, and it's all the boys laughing about this, and it's just word bubbles as they're listening in to them arguing, and they're just like arguing forever and cursing at each other and getting mad and calling each other pejoratives.
Fuck you. They says, fuck you, Judge Dredd. You're the sick asshole licking his own shit off his gun.
It's also someone that calls the black guy a coon.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
It's like, oh, boy.
It's pretty, it's the dialogue in this whole book is pretty...
Edgelord.
Edgelord.
Yeah. So then it turns out Simon Pegg has come back, and he says, basically, they explain the situation that they revealed this stuff to the team, and... then we cut to Butcher and Simon Pegg eating.
Basically, there's a lot of just exposition dump in here.
Yeah.
The team sends out Static Shock to say he's gay and everything.
I think I was wrong. I don't think he's the one with electricity powers.
It was Blarney Cock has
No, it's not Blarneycock. It's the Lobo one.
Yeah, Lobo one.
Whatever.
Whatever, yeah.
Who gives a shit? Oh, you racist, Phil? You think just because he's black, he has to have electric powers?
No, that's not why.
But fun fact, almost every black DC superhero has electric powers. Black Lightning, Black Vulcan, Static Shock, Juice, Jakeem Thunder. It's like a racist stereotype. If you're black, you have lightning powers. That's it.
For the record, Jakeem Thunder doesn't have electric powers. He is a genie, dumbass.
But he has like electric fucking genie.
The genie looks electric.
Yeah, so it's still fucking counts, Ryan. Fuck you.
And the only other real thing that like happens in this issue is we see Starlight being like, shouldn't we show some support for this team? And Superman just goes, actually, no, we shouldn't, fuck you, and your costume needs to be way sluttier. And he so condescendingly draws like cleavage holes on with a marker on her costume.
Yeah, which is another nice commentary because like female members of superhero teams, almost all of them had a slutty costume at some point. Wonder Woman had a slutty costume at one point. Invisible Woman from Fantastic Four had a slutty costume at one point.
Yeah.
Power Girl has a slutty costume forever.
And they talk about it being like a marketing thing because they say the company that funds us, they want your costume to be more photogenic.
Yeah.
So then the issue ends with, the boys hanging out and being like, we did such a good thing, especially, thanks to you, Simon Pegg. And then the Teen Titans guys show up and say, like, how could you do this to us? And they're obviously about to fight.
Yeah, and they're like, all right, boys, let's give him a fucking spanking, says Butcher in issue 5. Now, final issue, thank fucking God. Oh, God. No more edgelords for a while after this.
Please, ever again.
Yeah.
So they were about to fight off, and
it's a super bloody big fight.
Yeah, Nightwing says, let's show what it means to fuck with teenage. He gets cut off because Butcher headbutts him in the face and blood pours everywhere. And then he just fucking beats the shit out of their faces.
This fight is one of the most one-sided fights I've ever seen. Like, I don't understand how these superheroes have powers because you have a whole team of these Teen Titans or whatever, and like they never get a punch in. Like, are the boys every time they hit one of them, their face like explodes.
This is one reason I don't think this concept is done well. Even aside from the edgelord stuff, like I feel like Punisher kills Marvel Universe is this concept done better. Even though that concept was so rushed in that story, because at least that story was Punisher cleverly finding out ways to dispatch each hero. Like he nukes the X-Men, he like sets up traps for Spider-Man.
They're just better. They're just better at fights.
There's no threat to the boys. You never feel like they're in danger. It just feels like not Mark Millar. Easy mistake to make. Garth Ennis Mary Sue is just being the shit out of characters he doesn't like.
And like it's so obvious that they're not in danger because like they get their asses kicked so badly, and he's laughing the whole time as he does it too. Yeah. He's just like, I don't care.
Yeah. And it's so one-sided that the big conflict that happens is Simon Pegg accidentally kills Blarney Cock.
Ironically, I think even Mark Millar does this concept better because Superman Red Sun is basically Batman and Lex Luthor trying to figure out how do I stop gods when we're people, basically. Even that concept done better than Superman Red Sun. Mark Millar outdid you, Garth Ennis, fuck you.
Yeah, but you can't take Garth Ennis, one of the shittiest Garth Ennis books, and compare it to the best Mark Millar book.
I know, but this concept's so good, and it's just wasted here.
Can we point out that Static Shock is trying to fly away, and Mary Sue over here is holding him by his dick or his balls, and like he won't let him fly away?
But yeah, like Ryan said, Simon Pegg accidentally kills Barney Cock and puts his fist right through him
and steals his hamster or whatever.
Oh yeah. So what happens is after Barney Clark dies, he empties his bowels, and because of that,
wait. I wanted to bring up that Static Shock.
he is Static Shock. You're right.
Yeah,
I was right.
Static Shock zaps Butcher, and Butcher gets mad, and he grabs him and he rips off his thumbs.
Which is again crazy. He has electric powers, and he gets one tiny zap off on this guy. Like they never do. This is the only hit that the Teen Titans gives to the boys, and then he rips his thumbs off.
I didn't make the connection of where this hamster came from.
Yeah, it's really disgusting.
So Blondie Cock empties his bowels, and the hamster comes out because it's a fucking felching joke. Hilarious, Garth Ennis.
and they're like he's covered in tape. So they even though they're standing over this dead guy's body, they're like, we have to save this.
No, Simon Pegg is like, I have to save this thing, and everyone else like, no, that's grody, icky. He was in his butt, and Simon Pegg saves him, and everyone else is like,
yeah. I assume that becomes a theme in later volumes that he has this hamster for some reason.
Yeah. So then, Butcher's not mad that they killed him. They're mad because now they're going to have a superhero funeral where he talk about how great he is.
I actually love this concept a lot, that he's, because we always see these big superhero funerals with 100,000 superheroes at them, and I love that he's like, another one of these fucking things.
Especially because we just saw Blarney Cox stealing from dying children, so we're like, this guy's an asshole.
But he gets a big funeral, you know, being all the superheroes except for the 7 are there.
The vice president is there.
Yeah, and the 7, because the 7 aren't there, but they do take note of this, and they know it's obviously the boys. They're back, and the boys are back in town again, and now it's need to prepare for them.
And I love too how the Static Shock was forced to come out as gay last issue, and here they interview him about the funeral, and he was the guy you could always talk to. He really struck me when I was struggling with my gayness, with being gay.
Yeah. Yeah. So they have the superhero funeral. They have a torch for him on his grave. And then we cut to Butcher and Simon Pegg again. They have a lot of fucking talks. There's a lot of cutting in this fucking.
Did they even talk about anything?
They basically just talked about I killed a guy.
He talks about his origin.
Yeah, Butcher talks about why he joined the team. And it was because someone raped and impregnated his wife. And
it's implied to be Superman.
Yeah. And basically, not only that he raped and impregnated his wife, the Superman fetus burst out of her chest like a fucking alien chest burster because it was so fucking powerful, and you had to kill it.
And he got burns from heat vision.
The fetus had heat vision and had to beat it to death to the lampstand.
Yeah. It's fucking literally aliens. This fucking concept.
And then instead of showing up at the funeral, the 7 has a big press conference and shows off Starlight's new rack.
Yeah.
In her sexy costume.
She looks sad.
Yeah. And it's like a big, like, stupid commercial for superheroes.
The one interesting thing about this end is that, like, while Simon Pegg and Butcher are talking, this is where they talk a lot about how superheroes, like, when SWAT teams or whatever are rescuing hostages, they have a casualty allowance, but for superheroes, they have 60% casualty allowance because these guys are all amateurs, not trained, not licensed. They're amateurs with superpowers who go out and don't give a fuck about other people. And the reason that they're allowed to do this, the reason the military and the cops allow them, is because they're scared of superheroes. Because they even say earlier how the world now has about 200,000 superheroes.
He says that our next president could be super friendly.
It's interesting how they even say, like, the president hates superheroes, but the vice president worked for the company that funds the Justice League. So there's there's this intrigue where, like, if the president died and the VP became president, he's a superhero-friendly president. And, you know, what would that mean for the world? Because the boys are funded by... they're authorized by presidential decree.
Yeah.
So, whatever.
And if he has... You know, you can also add an extra layer of nuance with lobbying that if he worked... It's like when you see congressmen that up until a year ago worked for big oil.
Yeah.
You can't really necessarily trust their judgment on this issue.
Right.
And that's why, like, I do find like Phil said earlier, the premise is fascinating, and the fact that this went on for such a long time, maybe it gets better than this. I don't know, but this book was bad.
I really didn't like it.
Yeah, me neither. Ironically, even Mark Millar does this concept better because Civil War does the idea of we have to train these people and police them better than this story does.
Yeah. But this is politically, this is interesting enough to me that this is why I said, like, if people wanted to, if any of our listeners has read all of The Boys or more of it, let me know if it gets better than this, because, like, I think you can explore this well.
But the final note the book ends on is the Milk of Mom, whatever the name is, basically asks, like...
The Milk of Mom?
What's his fucking name?
Mother's Milk?
Mother's Milk.
What did you say?
The Milk of Mom.
I don't talk good. Stop pointing it out. But basically, the guy, whose name I forgot already, he says, like, what if there are good superheroes out there? What if the people out there trying to legitimately do good? Like, is it wrong to do this to all of them? And Butcher says, well, if they are, fuck them. And that ends the story.
Yeah.
See, I didn't read a lot of his dialogue as angry as you read into it.
I'm not saying he's angry, but I like it because that reminds me of fucking Rambo. Fuck him.
I think, if anything, that was probably setting up for later that maybe Simon Pegg will disagree with Butcher about stuff because, again, he's getting to know Starlight.
Or I feel like there's probably going to be a big thing with Starlight. Like, she's probably going to save them or something.
Yeah.
It's tough because, like, it's like the institutions here are so corrupt that it's hard for me to see this as salvageable in the future, because it's not like you have a bad superhero here and there. It's like the whole Justice League, as soon as they see a girl, are like, oh, we're getting free blowjobs. Like, That's institutionally like fucked. I don't know how you.
Where does the nuance come
Yeah.
for the other side?
I don't know.
Yeah.
So recap page.
It's wait. I just have to say it's crazy that it's not like Starlight was like a secretary for them. She was joining a team as like a peer to expect that for the whole team to expect that so easily. It's like she's going to become a Justice League member, not like the temp. It's just it's crazy.
Yeah, it's not your boss asking quid quo pro. That's like it's.
Well, keep this in mind. In real life, this does happen where you have a lot of actors and mostly actresses. They do say like acting coaches, not acting coaches, but like
agents.
People, acting agents. They end up having less power than the actors in the long run, but it's a prevalent problem that acting agents will have, actresses, becoming actresses do favors, and like it is a legitimate issue that even though eventually that person surpass that person in popularity, is still something that's so prevalent and such a systemic issue in the industry that no one talks about it.
Yeah.
And that stems from an unbalance of power. And when you have people like the Flash or Superman, that there's literally no one in like the universe that's that powerful. So especially in this universe that they're talking, I like the idea.
I love this book. This book is great. Ryan Wrench recommends this book. That's your recommendation, right, Ryan? My recommendation. The Boys.
The concept of the satire of ultimate power leads ultimate abuse of power is something that I could see getting really interesting if they play with the themes more.
Yeah, especially because I thought like Wonder Woman would act as like an advocate for Starlight, but apparently she's just always drunk somewhere and doesn't.
Which also makes sense though.
Yeah,
she might be jaded. Like she might have sucked all of the cocks herself, and now she's like a jaded actress.
Yeah,
I think that's what they were going for.
Yeah, that like doesn't I had to do it. I'm not going to stand up for you.
Yeah.
No one stood up for me.
Yeah,
and, like that's why Well, anyway. We could speculate on what happens later all the time.
Well, after this book, it becomes like 10 out of 10. It becomes the best book Ryan ever read.
Yeah. So was this book, would you recommend it as a so bad it's good?
No.
No.
I would recommend Nemesis over this book.
Stop saying that. No.
This is the first time I said it on the show.
Daryl, go. I want you to reread Nemesis right now and tell me that again.
But I think in terms of which book is better written, I think... obviously, this is better. I do think Nemesis is potentially better as So Bad It's Good because it's so incompetent in so many ways that it's better as a So Bad It's Good book.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean, Daryl?
Yeah, it's that Nemesis, when you read it, like, it doesn't set up any kind of expectations for you. It just keeps getting dumber and dumber until it's, like, absolutely dumbfounding ending. But with this book, there were, like, some good ideas in there, and then you have blood-flecked semen, you have the dog sodomy, you have, like, the guy smoking the crack while getting a blowjob from a dog man.
That's true.
You have so many parts where you're like, if you just toned yourself down, you could make an interesting book where you, like, look at and dissect superheroes in a very, like, clever, nuanced way. But it's not nuanced. It's just like, Superman is the greatest asshole of all time. Boom. There.
Yeah,
definitely.
And that's why I get like more frustrated with it because like Ryan, part of me wants to know where the story goes, but I don't want to read more than one more issue.
Yeah, that's the thing is like that's why like if somebody really told me why this is good, I would read more of it, but like I'm not going to go buy another trade.
And the problem is too, like I am kind of interested in the story, like the rest of you guys are, where it's like I kind of want to know what else he does with these characters. I just can't stand any more of the stupid edgelord stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know I don't know how to phrase this, but like the tone or basically has an interesting premise, interesting characters, but the story like fights for you to stop reading. Like stop reading this.
That's very fair.
Yeah.
So speaking of not wanting to read any more edgelord things, that's the transition that I'm taking. To move on to the letters page, I just wanted to thank Zach and Chris on Twitter who have been sending us lots and lots of suggestions. Especially Chris, which he's at Ace Comics on Twitter, has been actually linking me to his blog, which you can find on his Twitter, and I've been getting some ideas of books we want to do from there. And Zach gave us like a list of them over the week that I think we might be taking one of them soon, but we haven't decided which one yet.
All right, thanks, guys.
So thank you very much for that.
Thanks for saving us from this hell we've been in,
Yes.
just reading these shitty books.
Yeah, so that's I've been talking to a lot of people on Twitter lately, and it's my favorite thing. So that's Divisive Issues on Twitter, and same thing: rate, review, subscribe, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, all that jazz. And we have one question that comes from Facebook from Barry Anderson, and it is, "What happened to my Fantastic Four?"
Well, over time, the audience changed because people didn't want the old campy Fantastic Four as much, so they tried to modernize Barry Anderson. And,
They tried to modernize Barry Anderson.
Yeah, you can't modernize Barry Anderson, but... and so these past movies we've experienced have been a result of this weird mishmash of the old camp and new modern movie tropes.
People who are listening to this question about reading the Facebook wall wonder why we find the concept of Barry Anderson asking this question really funny.
He's a cool guy, but
It's Brian Aarons.
Probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I said, also divisiveissues@gmail.com. You should send us more letters. He asked us more questions that I don't want to get into.
Maybe give us an example so people can know what we're dealing
Oh,
with.
God.
That's the one they send over email.
Okay. He emailed us. The caption is "The Issues," and it's, "I have listened to your radio show, Divisive Issue, and I want to know what you think of Trump as the next president." I don't think we're that kind of show.
Yeah.
We're not all divisive issues.
yeah.
But I think if you read between the lines on our last few episodes, I think you can figure out what we think.
Yeah, you can surmise our thoughts.
Okay, so lastly, recommendations. Who wants to go first? Wait, Daryl, you go first so I don't forget you this
Oh,
time.
me? I get to go
Oh,
first.
wait, hold on. I'm going to forget you because I have another thing I wanted to mention real quick.
Okay.
I started listening to another comics podcast called The Comics Canon because I first found them because they also did a Killing Joke episode last week, and I just wanted to give them a shout out because they're kind of like the opposite of us, where they go much more, instead of just like, let's see how many goofs we can make about this thing, they go more into like the history of the stories, and they basically take stories that, instead of divisive, controversial ones, they take ones everyone accepts as like the greatest and look at them now and see, do they stand up, or do people just fondly remember them from when they were kids and that kind of thing? And they have done some things we have, like Killing Joke or Civil War, and you guys should check them out.
Can I apply to that podcast instead?
Did you apply to this one, or you just show up and not leave?
I can't remember anymore.
Well, you guest started and you just guest started again, and guess you're here now.
You guessed I'm here.
Guessed right, guessed wrong.
You're like a guest in Final Fantasy Tactics, everyone's favorite part. So, recommendations, Daryl's turn. What's up?
So if you want to see if you want to read a thing about a guy dressed in dark with dark hair that's big and bulky, and he has to fight against these superpowered
Wait,
beings.
how do you read without seeing, Daryl?
You shut your mouth. But if you want to read about this, pretty much like a guy that's like a regular man that has to fight against superpowered beings, you should just read Berserk, because that's also, it can be really edgy at times, so it's done in a respectful and it has meaning to its ways. Like, it's not just a man gets thrown through someone and they're left with their arms, even though there's a lot of gore in it.
Yeah, it's a pretty gory series.
But is it like people saying shit, cock, fuck, and there's semen everywhere? Is it like that?
No,
Is it a prose book or a comic?
It's a
it's
manga.
a manga. Yeah.
Oh, okay, because I have never heard of it.
Well, they're called Japanese comics, Ryan.
Oh, okay.
Manga.
Yeah, it's like animes for the pages.
Like super slow motion anime, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it never moves until you move it.
Anyway, I highly recommend Berserk if you want to see someone fight against superpowered characters.
So I'm going to recommend another book drawn by Darick Robertson. This is an image book that he did a year or two ago with Grant Morrison called Happy. And it's basically like taking the concept of a super edgelord book, where when you start, it's like super cursing and super gory, and his art is even more uncomfortable in this book. And like everything about it is super edgelord, except it turns the whole thing around, because it's like this kind of character that just says fuck you, and like fucks everybody all the time. But then he starts getting visited by basically a My Little Pony character that only he can see. And he thinks he's going crazy, but the My Little Pony character it's Happy the unicorn, tries to like convince him to be better than himself, and it's such a like dichotomy of super super edgy and also super campy ridiculousness in this super edgy style, and it's really short, and it's a book that I really really loved, so you should check out Happy.
So it's like a Christmas Carol with My Little Pony.
There is Santa fucking kids in it.
Oh no.
So, there's that.
I need to join this other podcast.
The book's great, though.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, great. We're probably going to end up reading it next week.
It's a satire on edgelord stuff, guys.
Okay.
Phil, do you have one?
I had trouble actually thinking of these because I couldn't think of other things where you had people fighting superheroes, but I did like the idea behind it, where you have real-life superheroes and the idea of who would police the police type thing, like who watches the Watchmen. So obviously I could recommend Watchmen, where you have real-life superheroes, like a superhero whose cape gets caught in the door, a revolving door, and gets shot. Like that kind of stuff you don't think about when you think about comics. You're like, superheroes can do anything. But in real life, if you had a bunch of random average humans just getting the ability to, shoot lasers or trying to fight crime, bad things would happen.
Watchmen also plays with the politics of it a lot better than this book does.
Yeah.
Watchmen is just better than this overall.
Oh, yeah.
Elmore's better writer than this
100%.
Yeah, who's gonna...
You can also read, Plato's Republic if you're like, I'm interested in how justice should work in society. Should there be constraints on the people who govern us? Although it's nothing like this at all. So
It's actually good.
What a bizarre and amazing recommendation.
So whenever we recommend a guy I particularly shit on, I usually like recommending a book from that writer that I like. So I'm going to recommend a book from a series called Spider-Man's Tangled Web, and it's a story called The Thousand. It's written by Garth Ennis, and basically the series Spider-Man's Tangled Web was made by Marvel as a way to get people who don't usually write Spider-Man to write Spider-Man. So they got Garth Ennis to write it and John McCrea to draw it. And basically, when you read it, it has the potential to become this. Like, that countdown you have in your head when something horrible is going to happen? Like, you have that with Spider-Man's story. Because basically the premise is, one of the people that bullied Peter when he was a kid, and the story is totally tied from his perspective, just like the boys are largely main perspective in the story. Basically, there's after Peter got his powers in the original Spider-Man origin, basically just like in the movie and all the other origins, he showed off his powers to test them out and swung around without his mask on before he had his mask. And this bully, after Peter got bitten by a spider, he came out to pick on Peter for passing out and acting like a pussy. And he sees Peter climbing walls and swinging. He realizes his secret, and basically he tried to recreate the experiment. And instead of becoming a Spider-Man-like character, he became a monster, a bunch of sentient spiders called the Thousand. It's like a swarm wearing a human skin. And basically, the story's told from his perspective, and we see Spider-Man as everyone else sees him, as this very obnoxious, joking, sarcastic character. And the Thousand thinks, I'm going to bring him down. I know Parker. I knew my whole life. He's a weakling. He's a coward. I'm going to break him. I'm going to show the world what I know already is true. Peter is a fraud. He's not a hero. He doesn't deserve what he's got. He just got lucky. Just because he got Spider-Man powers doesn't make him a hero. I should have gotten his powers, and I'm going to break him. And the whole story, because it's Garth Ennis, I thought, is going to be a story where he realizes, yes, Peter's a piece of shit, fuck him, because Garth Ennis has done before. He did in his Punisher run. He makes Spider-Man into a fucking asshole like the A-Train and stuff like that. But the story actually is, when Spider-Man finally does get confronted, it actually becomes about how Peter is a strong character because he endured all the bullying this guy gave him. He endured his uncle's death. He endured all this other stuff, and he moved on from his high school life, and this guy never did. Basically, it turns out it's about how strong Peter is as a person, that he moved on and he grew from what happened to him in high school while this guy just dwelt in it for the rest of his life. It's a very beautiful story, and I recommend it.
That sounds awesome.
Cool.
Slice recommendations are always like the spark notes of books.
Yeah.
It's always tough because I want to give the reason why I love them and not just say, read this story about Garth Ennis where Peter's like an asshole. And trust me, that's not going to turn out that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you could tell Daryl fits right in with the show because he's I guess permanent now, and he's already being like, Sly, you suck.
Am I permanent or just a permanent guest? Oh my god, guests! No!
Yeah, yes, make him a permanent guest. This is your punishment. You're reborn as a guest.
No, I don't want to be.
And we want to have a fourth party member, but we're stuck with you. We can't control you.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go in the corner and use auto potion. Come hit me! Throw rocks at me!
Okay, I'm trying to end this show, and you guys are just still talking about Final Fantasy.
I can't stop. That's my recommendation, actually. Play Final Fantasy Tactics if you haven't. It's nothing to do with this book, but it's an excellent
So
game.
Plato's Republic, Watchmen, and Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yeah, that's good. Don't read The Boys, read those, or play them.
Yeah, do an audio book while you're playing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you guys so much for listening. We've been Divisive Issues. I'm Ryan Lynch.
I'm Sly Crapper.
I'm Phil Mavrikis.
And I'm Daryl Steffen.
Stay in continuity.